Good morning, dear brother, dear sister. Today is a new dawn, a new opportunity that God gives us to walk in His light, to trust in His promise, and to rest in His mercy. May this prayer be like a balm for your soul, a whisper from heaven that accompanies you from the first minutes of your day. Here together, we gather in spirit to meditate on one of the most powerful promises of the Word, Psalm 41. This psalm, written by David, reminds us that God does not forget those who have compassion, that He cares tenderly for those who act with love. If you are starting this day with uncertainties, fears, or simply with a desire to feel God closer, stay with me. In these minutes of prayer, we will let His voice speak louder than any concern. And if you can, write this phrase in the comments as an act of faith. The Lord will hold me in the difficult day. By doing so, you will be proclaiming a powerful truth about your life and blessing others who read your message. May this day of peace, hope, and communion with the Father begin. The psalm begins with a promise that fills the heart with encouragement. Blessed is he who thinks of the poor. On the bad day, Jehovah will deliver him. These words are not just ancient poetry. They are an eternal truth. God observed the acts of compassion. He leans towards those who care for others, who extend their hand, who do not close their hearts to the need of others. Maybe today you feel weak, exhausted. Maybe you yourself need that friendly hand. But the promise is still firm. God will not leave you alone on a difficult day. He is your refuge, your help, your faithful defender. And if you have sown love, care, and mercy, prepare yourself because you will reap divine comfort. Declare it with faith. The Lord will deliver me on the bad day. Write it down if you feel that this promise is for you. Jehovah will keep it and give it life. He will be blessed on earth. What comfort to know that we are not drifting. God's care is not momentary. It is continuous. He keeps you while you sleep, while you walk, while you face the challenges of the day. There is no step that you take that is not under His loving gaze. And He not only cares for you, He gives you life, life in abundance, not an empty life, but an existence with meaning, with purpose, with direction. When God is present, even ordinary days become extraordinary because His peace envelopes us. If today you want to walk with that certainty, comment with faith. Jehovah will keep me and give me life. May every word be a seed of hope in your soul. The psalm continues with an even more intimate truth. It will support you on the bed of pain. You will mourn all your bed in its illness. What a tender image. God Himself accommodating our bed when we are weak, like a loving father who leans over his sick son. Maybe you are going through an illness, or you carry a very heavy emotional load. This promise is for you. You are not alone. In the midst of weakness, He is present, bringing comfort, health, encouragement. Every sigh of yours is heard, every tear collected by His hands. Declare it with humility and hope. The Lord sustains me in the midst of pain. Write this phrase if you long to feel that care today. David, even in the midst of his anguish, cries out with honesty, I said, Jehovah, have mercy on me. Heal my soul because I have sinned against you. Here we see the key to a living relationship with God. Sincerity. There is no prayer more powerful than that born of a broken heart. Sometimes we need more than physical strength. We need the health of the soul, invisible wounds, hidden guilt, fears that no one knows. God sees everything and does not go away. On the contrary, He approaches, extends His hand, and restores us from the inside out. Make this prayer yours. Heal my soul, Lord, and have mercy on me. Leave this cry written as a seed of health. When we feel betrayed or hurt by close people, the pain becomes deeper. David expresses his suffering in the psalm. Even the man of my peace, in whom I trusted, the one who ate my bread, raised his cane against me. Perhaps today you carry the weight of a disappointment, a broken friendship, a word that still hurts. But there is hope. God not only heals the body and soul, He also restores a broken heart. He understands your most intimate pain and offers you real comfort. Write this phrase with faith if you need comfort today. God restores my wounded heart. He is with you. In the midst of pain, hope shines when we trust in the character of God. David does not stay in a lament, but affirms himself in the eternal. But you, Jehovah, have mercy on me, and make me rise, and I will give you the payment. It is a cry for restoration, for justice, for a new opportunity. When everything seems lost, God can lift you up. He is the God of new beginnings. No matter how deep you have fallen, His hand is long enough to lift you up, His grace, powerful enough to restore you. Comment this phrase with faith if you are waiting for a new opportunity. The Lord will lift me up. It is your time to be reborn in His presence. David recognizes a sign of divine favor. In this I will know that I have pleased you, that my enemy does not turn away from me. How beautiful it is to know that God fights our battles. We do not need revenge, nor defend ourselves with words. The Lord is our defender. He does not allow those who rejoice in our pain to triumph over us. He covers our lives with dignity, honor, and protection. Even if they attack you, even if they criticize you, God is your shield. No one can extinguish the light that He lit in you. Declare with courage, God is my defender. Write this phrase if you trust in His justice. As for me, in my integrity you have supported me, and you have made me stand before you forever. What a powerful promise, to be in the presence of God eternally, not for merit, but for His fidelity. He supports the righteous, the one who walks with sincerity. It is not about perfection, but about heart. God honors the one who seeks Him with truth, the one who repents, the one who strives to do good. He supports you when you decide to walk with righteousness, even when it costs. If you long to live under His presence every day, comment, God supports me in His presence. May this be your daily prayer. The psalm concludes with a statement that transcends time. Blessed be Jehovah, the God of Israel, for the centuries of the centuries. Amen and amen. After the clamor, the disease, the betrayal, and the pain, David praises. He blesses God. This is the secret of those who overcome. They worship even in the midst of the test, because they know that God does not change, that His fidelity remains. Today you can also praise. Do not wait for everything to be perfect. Praise releases, renews, transforms. Write this final declaration of the psalm with faith. Blessed be the Lord forever. May your day begin with gratitude. Now that we have gone to the words of Psalm 41, it is time to let them descend to the heart. Many times we read promises as if they were distant stories, but today, these words speak of you, of your life, of your tomorrow. The mercy of God is not an abstract idea. It is real, close, constant. May this morning not be one more. May it be the rebirth of your confidence, the beginning of a new way of walking. God is present. He sees you. And although everything seems the same on the outside, something inside you is already changing. His Spirit is strengthening you at this precise moment. David's heart, when writing the psalm, was marked by deep wounds. He had been betrayed, persecuted, forgotten, and yet he did not stop praying. He did not allow bitterness to rob him of faith. This teaches us that we too can cry out from pain. God does not demand perfection to hear us. He seeks sincerity. And when the soul presents itself naked before Him, without masks, without defenses, then the true comfort begins. There flourishes the health that can only come from heaven. In times of illness, whether it is the body, the soul, or the spirit, the Lord not only brings health, He takes care, accompanies, sustains. David says that the Lord will support him in the bed of pain. What a tender image, a God who approaches to comfort the sick, who accommodates His bed with compassion. If today you are weak physically or emotionally, remember that you are not alone. God Himself has promised to be with you, not only to heal, but to walk with you while you heal. Many times, the hardest battle is not external, but internal. Guilt, anxiety, repetitive thoughts. David understood this. That is why he wrote, "Heal my soul, for I have sinned against you." He did not hide his condition. He did not pretend to be well. He was sincere, and in that sincerity, he found restoration. God is not scandalized for your weakness. On the contrary, He approaches, and when you recognize your need, His grace covers you, not as a punishment, but as an opportunity to start again with the light soul and the spirit at peace. The presence of God does not always arrive with a bang. Many times it arrives like a whisper, like a breath. In the silence of the morning, when everything is still sleeping, His voice can be heard more clearly. Do not rush. Do not leave the day without passing through the sacred place. Here in prayer, the soul finds direction. Here thoughts are ordered. Here the heart is strengthened. God is already with you, waiting only for you to look at him. Sometimes, we do not know how to explain the origin of certain wounds, pains of soul that appear without a clear reason, but that way as if they have been inside us for years. God sees that. He knows what no one else knows. What you yourself do not know how to put into words. He already understands. And when there is not enough language, he responds with presence. You do not need to speak a lot to be heard. Just open your heart, because God does not need explanations to love. He simply loves, even in the midst of chaos. David speaks of the betrayal of a close friend. Even the man of my peace raised his cane against me. That pain, that of betrayal, is one of the deepest. It hurts more when it comes from the one who shared the bread with you. If you have gone through something similar, you are not alone. Jesus was also betrayed by the one who walked by his side. He understands that pain, and that is why he can heal it. The wounded heart does not stay that way forever. In the hands of God, he also finds redemption. During crises, everything in us calls for immediate solutions. We want quick answers, instant relief, visible changes. But there are times when God does not transform the situation, but transforms us through it. He teaches us to wait, to trust what is not seen, to hold on to his word even when everything around us seems fragile. Because sometimes the greatest miracle is not in what changes on the outside, but in what matures on the inside. David affirms that God holds him by his integrity, not by perfection, but by his sincerity. Walking with integrity is tripping sometimes, but always rising with humility. It is choosing the right thing, even when no one is looking. God values those who seek him with a clean heart, and when we fail, he does not reject us. He corrects us. He restores us, and he returns us to the path with love. Integrity opens doors that talent could never open. The psalm concludes with praise. Blessed be Jehovah, the God of Israel, for the centuries of the centuries. After all pain, betrayal, sickness, David chooses to worship, not because everything is resolved, but because God is still worthy. That is the faith that transforms, the one that does not depend on what we feel, but on what we believe. May this day also end with gratitude, because when we worship, even in difficulty, the soul finds true rest. There is a force that is not noticeable on the outside, but holds everything inside. It is the strength to continue believing, even when the environment says otherwise. The strength to get up, to pray, to wait, that is the strength that comes from God. David knew well that invisible strength, and you can also experience it. You do not need to show anything to anyone. You just need to present yourself before God and say, "Here I am with what I have," and that is enough for him. When God promises to be with you, it does not mean that you will avoid all storms. It means that you will never face them alone. His presence does not always stop the wind, but it always brings peace in the middle of him. He is not a refuge that flees when the test comes. It is an eternal, firm, safe refuge. Even when you do not understand what is happening, you can trust that he supports you. This morning, let that certainty embrace you and guide you. The tired soul sometimes does not need solutions, just a little consolation, a silence full of presence, a certainty that God has not let you go. And that is just what he offers, real closeness, even when everything else feels far away. There are days when you just need to breathe and remember, God is here. He has not changed. He has not gone. He has not forgotten you. His love is as constant as the sun that shines again every morning. We often look for God when things go wrong, but David also looked for him in calm. He knew that the relationship with God does not depend on need, but on love. And love is cultivated with time, with surrender, with presence. This morning, beyond your requests, give your company to God. Stay with him, not only for what he can give you, but for what it is, because in his presence, the soul not only receives, it also learns to love again. Psalm 41 reminds us that he who acts with compassion will be remembered by God, not for human recognition, not for visible rewards, but because he has touched the heart of the Father. Maybe today you are the one who needs compassion, or maybe you are the one who can offer it. In any case, remember, the love you give is not lost, and the love you receive from God is never exhausted. He is still the same faithful God of yesterday, today and forever. Sometimes it is not necessary to run after many words. Just one word is enough. Lord, here I am. That simple phrase can open doors in heaven because it is not about perfect prayer, but about sincere prayer. David knew it. In his prayers, there were moments of praise and also of sobbing, but there was always truth. And it is that naked and humble truth that touches the heart of God, that today your prayer is like this, without pressure, without masks, only you and Him. There are wounds that only God can see. They are not in the skin, but in the depths of the soul. They are those marks that no one notices, but that hurt when they wake up. God knows them, and even more, He wants to heal them. He does not put bandages in a hurry. He touches with patience, restores with tenderness, and strengthens with love. Do not be afraid to show Him your pain. In His hands, each wound can become a story of restoration. True rest does not come from sleeping many hours, but from having peace in the heart. And that peace can only come from knowing that you are not alone, that someone older than you takes care of every detail. God even takes care of what you still do not know that worries you. He goes before you, ordering the way. He goes behind you, closing doors that you do not need to cross. And He is by your side, holding you without letting go of your hand. When the heart is filled with gratitude, even ordinary days become miraculous, because gratitude opens the eyes to see what used to seem invisible. Small details, daily blessings, God's whisper in the middle of the noise. Today, before asking, be grateful, even if it is for a small thing, because when the soul learns to be grateful, it also learns to trust. And whoever trusts walks lighter. There are words that heal, but there are silences that also do. In prayer, you do not always need to speak. Sometimes you just need to stay still, take a deep breath, and let the presence of God fill you. That moment, as simple as it may seem, can transform your whole day, because where God dwells, there is light. And if there is light, darkness has no power. May the silence of prayer become your greatest strength today. The fidelity of God does not depend on your emotions. There are days when you feel strong, and others when you find it difficult to pray. But He remains. He does not change. He does not move away when you are weak. His love is constant, even when you do not feel it. That is grace. To know that even if you have gray days, His light is still on. Even if you lack courage, He is still with you. And if today it is difficult for you to pray, stay in silence. God also listens to sighs. Throughout Psalm 41, we see a David who recognizes himself fragile, but who never loses hope. He knows that even if the body weakens, the soul can be strengthened in God. That strength is not noise, it is root. May this morning you be able to put deep roots in your faith. It does not matter if there is a storm outside. If you are rooted in the presence of the Lord, you will remain. And after the storm, you will still be standing firmer, more mature, more peaceful. The world celebrates visible success. God honors invisible heart, the one who secretly loves, who prays when no one sees him, who forgives without being asked. That is the heart that touches the sky. You do not need human recognition to have courage. What you do with love has already been seen by God. And when His reward comes, it is not like that world. It is peace. It is rest. It is fullness. There are mornings that begin with anxiety, thoughts that run uncontrollably, responsibilities that way, things that you still do not know how to solve. But before letting all that overwhelm you, breathe and surrender. Put everything in the hands of God, not because it is an escape, but because it is the only way to walk lightly. He does not promise you that everything will be easy, but He does promise you that you will not be alone for a single day. At this point in prayer, you may feel that something in you has calmed down. That is the presence of God. He does not arrive with noise, but with peace. He does not impose, but embraces. Stay a moment longer. Let this presence envelop you completely. There is no better way to start the day than from the center of His love. From there, everything looks different. Everything has hope. When David writes about the one who thinks of the needy, he does not only speak of giving. He speaks of looking with compassion. And sometimes the needy is the one who is not on the street, but at home. It could be a relative, a friend, or even yourself. God honors the one who sees with love, the one who acts with kindness, the one who does not harden in the face of the pain of others. And if today you need that compassion, He has it for you. because before asking you for something, God is already willing to give you comfort. Prayer is not just a moment of the day. It is a lifestyle. It is not just talking to God for a few minutes. It is living with an open heart to His presence throughout the day. When you learn to pray without haste, you also learn to live without anxiety, because God does not live in noise or pressure. He manifests Himself in the simple, in the everyday, in that moment when you breathe deeply and remember God is here. Many times, we expect great miracles without noticing that the greatest miracle has already happened. You are here, breathing, with a new opportunity to begin, and that is already a reason to be grateful. Psalm 41 speaks to us of care, of mercy, of health. Today, that care is also on you. Even if you do not see everything, even if you do not understand everything, you're already in the hands of the one who never fails. There are internal battles that no one else knows, secret struggles, thoughts that you do not share, pains that you keep quiet. But God knows even the most hidden of the soul, and He does not judge you. He understands you. He does not demand perfection from you. He only asks you to come as you are, that you open your heart without fear. And when you do, something begins to heal. Because where the Spirit of God is, there is freedom, even from what you never knew how to let go. This morning, make a little act of faith. Let go of control. You do not need to have all the answers or all the forces. You just need to trust in the one who does have them. The day is just beginning, and many things can happen. But if your heart remains in peace, what comes will not shake you, because you are not walking alone. You are walking with a pastor who promised, "I will not leave you, nor will I forsake you." God not only sees your pain, He also sees your surrender. He observes when you decide to pray, even tired, when you choose to trust, even with fear, when you forgive, even if it hurts, and that in front of His eyes has incalculable value. He does not forget those who seek Him in secret. He does not forget those who love without being seen. And this morning, before the world tells you who you are, remember you are seen by heaven, and that is enough. Psalm 41 teaches us that God keeps, gives life, and sustains. He is not a distant God. He is a close Father, one who is present in every detail, who takes care while you sleep, who guides while you walk, who comforts while you cry. You do not need to do something extraordinary to call His attention. He is already looking at you tenderly. And if today you wake up with a wounded soul, just say, "Lord, stay with me." His answer will be immediate. Prayer reorders us inside. It puts priorities in place. It calms what was agitated. It illuminates what was confused. It is as if the heart found its rhythm again to the beat of God's love. That is why it is so important to pray before starting the day. Not out of obligation, but out of necessity. Because when the soul connects with heaven, everything else aligns. The urgent gives way to the eternal, and the impossible becomes possible. Today you may face important decisions, difficult conversations, or unexpected challenges. But if you have already spent time with God, you are not disarmed. You carry with you the peace that the world does not understand, but that sustains you in every step. That peace does not come from having everything under control. It comes from knowing that the one who controls everything is with you. He gives you wisdom. He gives you direction. And above all, He gives you the certainty that you do not walk by your own strength. In the midst of illness, fatigue, or fragility, God does not move away. On the contrary, He comes closer. The Psalm says that He sustains the sick in His bed. How comforting to know that when we can no longer, He takes over. Do not be afraid to show your weakness in front of Him, because in that place of vulnerability is where His power manifests itself with greater force. And when you can no longer walk, He will carry you in His arms. When it seems that no one understands your pain, remember this. God does understand. He not only sees the external, He also feels what weighs inside and does not go far. He stops. He leans. He looks at you with compassion, and He calls you by your name. You are not invisible to Him. Every night of insomnia, every spilled tear, every sigh without words, everything is kept in His memory, because where you see weakness, He sees a heart willing to trust. Faith is not an emotion. It is not always felt. Sometimes it is decided. It is that yes that you give to God even when there are no signs, even when the sky is cloudy. And that kind of faith is the one that pleases the heart of the Father. David knew what it was to walk without human certainty, but with absolute divine confidence. Today you can also do it. You do not need to see everything clearly. You just need to take the next step, knowing that He goes with you. God does not only want to heal you, He wants to restore you completely. He is not satisfied with relieving a part. His desire is to return you to fullness, emotional, spiritual, even relational. His love leaves nothing in the way. Maybe you have learned to live with certain wounds, as if they were part of you. But God wants something more. He wants you to live free. And that freedom begins when you let yourself love without reserves, without conditions, as you are today. The world pushes you to run, to surrender, to demonstrate. But God invites you to stop, to breathe, to return to the origin. In your presence, you are not a number, nor an achievement, nor a failure. You are a son. You are a daughter. You are loved. And when you recognize yourself as such, everything is transformed. You no longer need to compete. You no longer need to prove anything. You can simply be, and that, in the kingdom of God, is more than enough. Sometimes the greatest blessing is not that things change outside, but that something changes inside of you. A thought that becomes clear, a wound that begins to close, a fear that loses its strength. All that is also a miracle. Today, when you get to this part of the prayer, look inside. What has changed in you? What has softened? What has lit up again? Give thanks to God, not only for what He did, but for what He is doing and will continue to do. There are days when nothing extraordinary happens, but even there, God is working. In the everyday, in the simple, in the silent. He does not need to make noise to transform your story. Sometimes you just need to be attentive. Do not underestimate what seems small, because the kingdom of God begins like this, like a seed, and every prayer, every act of faith, every moment with Him is sowing something eternal in your life. David lived moments of deep loneliness. He was betrayed, rejected, misunderstood, and yet he did not stop looking for God, because he understood that his identity did not depend on the opinion of others, but on the fidelity of the Lord. Maybe you have also been hurt by people you trusted, but that does not define your value. God is still your refuge, your shield, your truth, and He will never fail you. The soul needs pauses, moments in which nothing is demanded, in which you only breathe and recognize the presence of God. This prayer is one of those pauses, and if you have come this far, it is because your soul needed it. Do not feel guilty for stopping you. In that rest, there is also faith. It is a faith that says, not everything depends on me. God is in control. That confidence is healing and renews you much more than you imagine. Psalm 41 shows that God raises the fallen and honors the whole. What a powerful word. It does not matter if you have stumbled. What matters is that He is willing to lift you up and walk with you once more. Do not stay on the ground. Do not listen to the voice of guilt. Listen to the voice of the one who says, I love you. I forgive you. I lift you up in His grace. There is room to start again every time you need it. The presence of God is not a reward for the good. It is the home of those who recognize that they need it. You do not need to earn it. You just need to ask for it. And when you do, He responds. Today, may this be your safe place. May every word said here become a seed of faith, a whisper of peace, a spiritual hug. Because you are not alone. You have never been alone. You will never be alone. Every morning brings new opportunities, but also new challenges. And what will make the difference will not be what you face, but who you face. If you go with God, no obstacle will be greater than His grace. Walking with Him does not eliminate the difficulties, but it does fill each step with purpose. Even the hardest paths become sacred when you know you are not alone. Today, before moving forward, affirm your heart in this truth. God is with you. You do not need to have everything clear to trust. There are times when the only light you have is God's promise, and that is enough, because His word is a lamp and His fidelity does not depend on your circumstances, but on His eternal love. David learned to trust even in the dark, and you can do it too, not because you are strong, but because He is. Rest in the promise. The righteous will live by faith, and that faith will hold you today. Throughout the psalm, we see a David vulnerable, sincere, human. He does not hide his pain, nor does he pretend to be well when he is not. His authenticity is what brings him closer to God. That teaches us something important. You do not need to pray beautifully. You only need to pray truly, to say what is in your heart, because God does not seek speeches. He seeks truth. And when you pray with truth, His presence covers you like a soft blanket. This day may not start with energy, but even so, it can be a blessed day. Blessing does not depend on how you feel when you wake up, but on the presence that accompanies you. And if you are here praying, that presence already envelopes you. Even with fatigue, even with doubts, you can walk in peace. Because God does not need your strength to work. He only needs your disposition. And you, being here, you have already taken that step. God is not only at the beginning of your day. He will be in every part of the way, in conversations, in decisions, in the unexpected. And if you take a moment in the middle of the routine, you can feel Him whispering, "I am here." That certainty is enough to sustain your whole day. May this prayer not end when you open your eyes, but may it remain alive in you while you live each moment with your heart connected to heaven. When God takes care of you, He does not do it only in the obvious. He also acts in the invisible, in the thought that changes, in the fear that disappears without you noticing it, in the decision you make with peace. His care is integral. It is not limited to the external. He touches the deep, the hidden, what you did not even know you needed attention. And that is why, by trusting your life every morning, you are giving Him everything, what you see and what you still cannot see. David was a man of battle, but also a man of tears. And that did not make him weak. It made him human. He learned that crying in front of God is not a sign of defeat, but of confidence. God does not reject a broken heart. On the contrary, He approaches you. He does not ask you to hide behind a fake strength. He invites you to be yourself, knowing that in your sincerity is the beginning of your restoration. Integrity, as David mentions it, is not perfection. It is coherence. It is deciding to walk in truth even when no one is looking. It is choosing the right thing even if it costs you. And God honors that, even if the world does not value it. Even if sometimes it seems that being good does not bring reward. Remember, the one who walks with righteousness is under the direct gaze of heaven, and that is enough. Many times, God works in us without us realizing it. And when we look back, we notice that something has changed, that we no longer react the same, that what used to break us no longer has the same power. That is the fruit of His presence. It is not always immediate, but it is constant. Like the river that cleanses a stone, so is His Spirit, soft but persistent. And if you are here today, it is because you are already being transformed inside. Every step you take in the direction of God counts. Every prayer, every thought given, every silence full of faith. None of that is lost. Everything is recorded in heaven. Everything has an echo in the heart of the Father. Do not worry if you do not see fruit yet. Keep sowing in the morning as you do now, because the God who sees in the secret rewards His time. And what is a seed today? Tomorrow it will be harvested. The day is just beginning, and there are already 1,000 things waiting for your attention. But before you take that first step, remember, your soul also needs to be fed, and not in a hurry, but with presence. This prayer is not a process. It is a refuge, a place where you can breathe deeply and remember yourself that you do not need to do everything alone. God is already on the way, opening doors, softening loads, and preparing what you still do not see. Sometimes we feel that our prayers do not reach heaven, but that does not mean that they were not heard. It means that God is working in a way that you still do not understand. In silence, but with purpose. Trust in that invisible process, because while you wait, God is working. And at the exact moment, what seemed stagnant will move. What seemed impossible will open, not by your strength, but by His fidelity. Psalm 41 speaks of compassion, health, restoration, and honor. All that is in the heart of God for you. He is not indifferent to your story. He knows every chapter, and yet He looks at you with love, not with judgment, but with tenderness. And if today you feel that you have failed, that you have moved away, that you are not up to it, remember, He does not ask you to return perfect. He only asks you to return, and His arms are still open like the first day. When the mind is full of thoughts, of concerns, of external voices, it is easy to lose focus. But in prayer, everything is ordered. The urgent is silenced. The important shines again, and the soul finally breathes. Make this moment your anchor. It does not matter how your night was. Today begins another opportunity. And if you start it with God, you're already walking on the best possible path. In David's life, there were enemies, diseases, betrayals. But there was also a God who never released him, who raised him, who defended him, who held him when everyone moved away. That same God is with you today. It is not a promise of the past. It is a present reality. It does not matter what comes or who stays or goes. If the Lord is with you, you already have everything. There are times when the soul feels fragile, as if any word could break it. And in those moments, what you need most is not an immediate solution, but an invisible hug. That hug is the presence of God. He does not come with noise. He comes with peace. He comes when you call him in silence. He comes when you say, I cannot anymore. And he responds, I hold you. Today, that voice is also speaking to you, even if everything is in silence. David did not hide his pain. He wrote it. He sang it. He prayed it. He knew that vulnerability is not weakness when it is given to God. In fact, in those moments is when the Lord acts more tenderly. If today you are hurt, do not shut it up. Present it as it is. You do not need to decorate it or explain it. Just deliver it. Because God does not ask you for strength. He offers you rest. He does not demand perfection. He restores from the truth. The psalm also speaks of justice, of a God who does not forget those who have been humiliated, nor those who have loved without being loved back. God sees what no one sees, and his justice arrives in the right time. If you have been faithful in the hidden, if you have sown with tears, if you have loved without expecting anything, prepare yourself, because the God who honors the secret also rewards with eternal love, and what seemed forgotten will be exalted by his hands. There are days when there is no strength to pray, and that is fine, because even when you do not know what to say, the Spirit intercedes for you. Sometimes you just have to stay still, breathe, and say, Here I am, Lord. God listens to long prayers, yes, but he also listens to sincere silences, the looks to the sky, the deep sigh, the desire to continue, even if everything weighs. And each of those gestures is a seed that he collects with love. Until now, this prayer has been a path, a walk with the soul open, with the heart willing, with the faith lit. Maybe you have not felt something extraordinary, but if your peace increased, if your mind was ordered, if your heart was still, then God already spoke. He does not need great signs to show you that he is with you. Sometimes, all you need is to realize that you have come this far, supported by a grace that you do not see, but that never lets you go. God does not impress with complex words, but he moves with sincere heart. When you pray from the deepest, without masks or appearances, you are directly touching the Father's heart. And that type of prayer is not lost. It rises like fire. It remains before him, and in time, descends as an answer, maybe not as you expected, but always as you needed it most. In the days of anguish, the temptation is to isolate, to close, to be silent. But the psalm teaches us the opposite, to approach, to cry, to open the soul. Because when everything seems dark, prayer lights a light from within. David knew it. That's why he prayed to a wounded. He sang to a betrayed. And that faith did not make him immune to pain, but it gave him strength to go through it. Today, that same faith can also support you. God's care is personal, not general. He not only cares for everyone, he cares for you, your thoughts, your emotions, your story, every detail of your life, no matter how small it may seem. If today you have woken up with fear or uncertainty, remember, you don't have to understand everything. You just need to trust. God is already in the places where you have not yet arrived. He goes ahead, opening the way with love. Throughout the day, many things will try to steal your peace. Worries, expectations, unexpected situations. But when you start the day with prayer, you carry with you an invisible shield, the presence of God. It does not mean that there will be no problems. It means that your heart will know who to turn to, that even in the midst of the noise, you will remember this morning's, and that will be enough to continue with calm. God does not get tired, never. Even if you repeat the same prayer 100 times, he listens to it as if it were the first, because for him, you are not one more. You are unique, you are loved, and your voice is never monotonous. Do not be afraid to ask again. Do not be afraid to insist. Jesus himself said, Ask, and it will be given to you. And if the answer has not yet arrived, trust. There are blessings that are being prepared carefully. In heaven, nothing is delayed. Everything comes in due time. Every day is a new invitation to trust. It does not matter how it was yesterday. It does not matter if you failed, if you doubted, if you cried. Today is a blank canvas, and God wants to write with you a story full of purpose and redemption. Do not start this day dragging blames. Deliver them. Let go of what you cannot change and receive what God has already prepared. His mercy is new, not only every morning, but every time your heart returns to Him. David learned to wait, and that wait was not passive. It was constant prayer. It was singing while he cried. It was praising even without understanding, because faith does not cancel pain, but it does fill it with hope. You can also learn to wait like this, not with anxiety, but with confidence. Not as someone who fears losing control, but as someone who knows that God is already doing what is necessary, even when you still do not see it. When the psalm says that the Lord will sustain him in the bed of pain, it does not refer only to a physical disease. It also speaks of inner fatigue, of emotional exhaustion, of those nights in which it is difficult to continue. And there, in that place where no one else arrives, God enters without asking permission. He embraces you, He renews you, and with divine patience He puts breath again where there was only wear. That is also health. Sometimes prayer does not change what is outside, but it always transforms what is inside. And that inner change is what sustains your day. It is what gives peace in the middle of the storm. It is what makes you smile even without apparent reason. That is why, even if you have little time, even if you are busy, even if you think it is not necessary, pray. Even a short prayer, when it comes from the soul, can open skies. Up to here, you may have felt as if your soul had breath. That is the effect of the presence of God. Soften what was hard. Clarify what was confusing. Calm what was agitated. Do not lose this state. Take it with you. Keep this peace in your heart like a lit lamp. Because throughout the day, when life tries to turn you off, that light will be your strength. There are many things that escape your control. Decisions of others, unexpected situations, uncertain results. But there is something you can always choose. Go back to God, look for His face, give Him the day, and when you do that, everything inside you begins to find its place. Not because the world has changed, but because you now walk with the certainty that you are not alone in the middle of it. Not everything that shines comes from God. Sometimes the most sacred is also the most silent. Do not wait for the divine to come wrapped in show. Many times, God appears in the simple, in a thought, in a pause, in an unexpected peace. Therefore, do not look for God in the extraordinary only. Look for Him also in the everyday, in the sun that enters through the window, in the hot coffee, in the quiet breath after praying. There He also lives. The psalm speaks of being delivered on the bad day. That does not always mean avoiding suffering, but going through it without losing faith. It is walking through the fire without being consumed. It is crying, but with hope. Today may be a difficult day, or it may be that the pain comes from previous days. But what makes the difference is not what you face, but with whom you face it. And if God goes with you, there is no shadow that lasts forever. When you pray with perseverance, something deep begins to happen. You become more sensitive to the spiritual, more attentive to the eternal, and your soul, which used to run from one place to another, begins to find rest. It is not magic. It is relationship. Prayer is not just asking. It is being. And the more time you spend with God, the more you resemble Him, the more you love, the more you forgive, the more you understand, the more you live as if you were with the Creator. It is possible that when you close this part of prayer, you still do not have all the answers. But if you have peace, then you have what you need most. Because from peace you can see better, decide better, live better. Do not underestimate the power of a constant prayer. Every word you said today continues to resonate in heaven, and in perfect time it will descend as an answer. Until then, keep trusting and keep walking with faith. When you open your heart to God in the morning, something in you aligns with heaven. It is not just about receiving answers, but about starting the day with purpose, with direction, with an inner voice that tells you, I am with you. And that certainty does not disappear when you leave home. It goes with you. It stays in your memory, in your spirit, in your way of looking and acting, because whoever starts the day with God lives it differently. The psalm also speaks of being guarded, of receiving life, of being blessed on earth. It is a promise of care, but also of purpose. God not only wants to protect you, He wants to use you. You are not here by accident. Your life has an eternal meaning. Every word you say, every gesture of love, every decision made with integrity, everything can sow something that lasts much longer than this day. Sometimes, the greatest sign of faith is to keep praying when you feel nothing, when heaven seems closed, when your soul is in silence and hope seems distant. That is where your prayer becomes more powerful, because it is not born of enthusiasm, but of fidelity. It is not based on what you see, but on what you believe. And that type of prayer moves God's heart, because it is a prayer that says, even if you don't see, I trust. There are things that only time reveals, processes that cannot be accelerated, cycles that need to mature. And that also applies to your spiritual life. Don't despair if you don't see immediate changes. God is working even now. Trust in the rhythm of heaven. The fruit takes time to grow, but when it arrives, it feeds. And you are sowing in faith with every word, with every minute of prayer. The harvest will come. Don't stop. Maybe you already feel a difference inside you, a calm that you didn't have when you started, a hope that lit up, a soft but firm strength. That didn't come from you. It came from God. It is the invisible answer at your disposal. By stopping to pray, you have opened space for Him to act. And what started as a prayer has now become company. It continues like this, and you will see what He is still going to do. Every word said in this prayer has been like a drop of water falling on dry earth. Maybe you don't see the fruit yet, but the ground of your heart is already being prepared. God is removing tiredness, fear, confusion, and He is doing it carefully, because He doesn't come to demand, but to restore. He doesn't come with condemnation, but with tenderness. And when the heart opens, He enters with His light and begins to transform everything from within. David understood that true rest didn't come from his position, nor from his victories, nor even from his wisdom. His rest came from knowing that in the midst of everything, God supported him. Today, that same truth is for you. It doesn't matter how many tasks you have, how many obstacles you face, how many thoughts you carry in your mind. If God is your support, you will find peace even in the midst of pressure, because you are not alone. Many start the day looking for strength, but you started looking for presence. And that changes everything, because strength without direction is exhausted. But when God guides your walk, even fatigue becomes worship. You don't need to solve everything today. You just need to move forward with your heart connected to heaven. And every step, every choice, every thought will be guided by that peace that transcends all understanding. When you pray from the depths, something awakens in you. Not only do you fill yourself with comfort, but also with purpose. Because when you are with God, you remember who you are, why you are here, and where you should look. That is what His presence does. Not only does it calm, but also directs. And when the voice of the world wants to divert you, remember the voice you heard here, that voice that calls you by your name and tells you you are mine. Getting here is not a small thing. You have dedicated time, mind, soul, and heart, and God has received everything. Every word has been an act of surrender, every silence an offering, every thought a step closer to the Father. Now go out into the world with this certainty. Do not walk alone. The God of Psalm 41 guards you, lifts you up, honors you, and accompanies you. And what has begun in prayer will continue in victory, because His fidelity does not end with an amen. At this point, your heart has already gone a long way, not only in words, but in transformation. What began as a moment of connection has become a place of rest, and God remains there. He does not leave when the prayer ends. He is with you in every decision, in every conversation, in every step, because His promise is not momentary. I will be with you every day. And today, that becomes real once again. In the life of faith, there are things that are seen and others that are planted in secret. What you are doing now, praying with constancy, with sincerity, is a deep planting. It may seem invisible, but it is not for God. He sees what you do when no one applauds. And each of those seeds will bear fruit, some soon, others with time. But none will be lost, because God honors those who seek him in spirit and in truth. If the day finds you with challenges, remember this prayer. Remember that you spoke to the Creator, that you delivered your burdens, that you heard his voice. That does not matter. You can come back here as many times as you need, because prayer is not just a moment. It is a state of the soul. And now your soul has learned to be still before God. That peace will be your shield. David went through many valleys, betrayals, diseases, family conflicts, wars. But in all of them, he learned to take refuge in the presence of the Lord. That was his constant strength. You too can learn that. You do not need everything to be fine to have peace. You just need to know that the one who holds you is faithful. He was faithful yesterday. He is today, and he will be tomorrow. In that you can rest. Many times a true victory is not seen from the outside. It is that thought that you manage to let go, that wound that hurts less today, that guilt that no longer has power, that hope that came back to light. If that happened in you during this prayer, then something great has already happened, because where God is, there is life. And if his life is in you, then this day is already blessed from inside out. It is not necessary to see a miracle to know that God is working. Sometimes the most miraculous thing is how your heart changes, how now you breathe more calmly, how the anguish has softened without you realizing it. That is also sanity, because when the soul rests, the body feels it. When the mind is still, the day is transformed, and all that begins here in the stillness of his presence. Psalm 41 says that the Lord will not allow the enemy to rejoice over you. That means that even if there is opposition, he will not have the last word. Even if there is struggle, it will not be the end. Your story does not end in the valley. God guards you, raises you, and supports you with his justice. And when everything seems dark, remember, there is a light that never goes out and lives within you. What you are doing at the hour is more powerful than you imagine. You are saying, I do not walk alone. You are declaring, my forces are not mine, they come from heaven. You are opening your life to the eternal. And every time you do it, your faith grows, even if you do not feel it, even if you doubt, because faith does not always scream. Sometimes it only breathes. And that sigh is enough for God to come closer. God is not in a hurry. He has time for you. There is no hurry in his love. There is no impatience in his care. He knows your rhythm, your limits, your silences, and yet he remains, he waits, he accompanies you. What rest to know that you do not have to run to reach it. You just need to stop and let yourself reach, because he is already close. Just wait for you to notice it. This day can be different, not because circumstances change, but because you have already changed inside. Now you have a word sown, a peace lit, a living faith. Keep that as a treasure. And when you feel that something wants to steal your calm, come back to this place. Remember this prayer, because what God began in you today, he himself will complete. Sometimes we think that praying a lot is the same as praying well. But in reality, the most valuable thing in prayer is not its duration, but its depth. A word said with sincerity can open doors that 1,000 phrases do not open. And today you have chosen to pray with an open heart. That has an eternal value. Not only does it change your present, also marks your future. Because where there is truth, God always responds. The Psalm says that the Lord will support you on the bed of pain. That means that God not only visits you when you are well, he enters in your most fragile days, in your darkest nights, in your deepest silence. He does not judge you for being tired. He does not move away if you do not have strength today. On the contrary, it is at that moment when his grace is activated with more power. He does not expect your perfection, only your surrender. During this prayer, you have breathed peace. You have made space for the sacred. And that not only transforms your tomorrow, it transforms your way of living. Because who learns to start the day with God also learns to finish it with gratitude. Let this habit become part of you. Let prayer not be an isolated event, but a lifestyle. And you will see how, little by little, everything begins to align according to the rhythm of heaven. When the psalmist cries out for mercy, he does not do it out of merit, but out of need. He knows that he does not deserve anything, but that God gives everything, not out of obligation, but out of love. And you can also approach yourself like this, without pretending to have everything in order, only with humility, only with truth, because God does not resist a broken heart. He leans to restore it. There is something beautiful in recognizing that we depend on God. It is not weakness. It is wisdom. The world teaches that being self-sufficient is a sign of strength. But in the kingdom, the greatest strength is in surrender. And you have surrendered this morning to the Lord. You have put your time, your voice, your faith in His hands. That is worship. That is spiritual life. That is what transforms a common day into a sacred day. Thank you for getting here, for giving this time to your soul, and allowing God to speak to your heart. What you lived in this prayer does not end now. It begins with you. Every word sown today will continue to bear fruit throughout the day. And if this prayer touched your life, I invite you to share it with someone who also needs hope. Leave an amen in the comments if you believe that the Lord has spoken to you and wrote a phrase that has been engraved in your heart. Together we continue to sow faith, comfort, and light. May the God of Psalm 41 accompany you today. Get up and fall. Hold on and get tired, and fill you with peace at all times. Amen.